Welcome, everybody. We're back again in the Fix This First podcast. I'm Tracy, and this is my partner, Karen. And we have a wonderful, wonderful guest, Casey, today. So thanks for being here, Casey.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, okay. I didn't want to say your last name wrong, and it's not on your screen. So tell them what your full name is.
Yes. Yep. Casey Gregerson. That's right.
Okay, cool. All right. And so Casey, thanks for being here. So like we kind of keep this casual and we're just chatting. And but tell us a little bit about who you are, what your business is, like your elevator pitch about what you do, and then we'll kind of jump into like what's going on in your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's exciting to talk to you guys, especially with businesses. I now run a vertically integrated real estate company. But before that, I could relate to selling businesses. We own franchises. It's actually called Pure Barre. So it's a women's
Oh,
like boutique fitness studio. Me and my wife
oh
own,
wow.
at one point, we owned 7 of them. And at
Oh
one point,
wow.
our strategy was we were hoping we could roll them all up and potentially sell them because there were a couple of groups that were doing that,
Yeah.
selling it to private equity. So I remember, but we ended up just selling them to an individual. But I definitely remember those days of like, hey, like cleaning up your P&Ls and like in getting your costs down and making yourself most
Yeah,
profitable. So I'm excited to dive in.
exactly.
But to kind of parlay that is I've been invested. I bought my first rental property 15 years ago when I was in school. My dad actually helped co-sign with it. I still own it today, right? But then I did this. I went into the world of franchises, really learned how to build a business, how to do marketing, payroll, right, and really got good at sales, right? So I really was able to parlay that into today into my real estate company because now we go direct to seller. We do all our marketing for there. We have in-house construction and contractors almost out of necessity because in our market in Wyoming, it's very difficult to find contractors. So we've been able to find predictability and reliability and just a lot of other benefits just keeping those guys in house, right? And then the kind of third and fourth things are we do in-house property management. And that's because when I first started, when I first bought that first rental property 15 years ago, I managed it, right? And I still manage it to this day. But today I've been able to build a team around me with virtual assistants and they coordinate with those contractors who are boots on the
Nice.
ground. And we're able to manage about
Nice.
250 units, right, that we own right now. We
Wow.
actually have an offer out on another 120 unit complex right now as we speak. So
Wow.
hopefully we'll be adding some to the mix. And then the last thing is,
Amazing.
yeah, and just so now it's like, okay, we got this engine, this vertically integrated company, but in Wyoming, that the only challenge is, but I think it's a good benefit, is there's not as many cash buyers and investors. So it's harder for me
Mhm.
with all my deal flow to just wholesale things. So we end up
Mm.
taking a lot of deals down ourselves. But in turn, that creates a lot of capital demands. So we started my fund a couple of years ago, Bighorn Capital Fund, where now I'm able to use like my limited partners. These are guys that used to work with in oil and gas or any other W2 professionals that can actually come in and partner with me on a deal. And then we can kind of keep that train moving, right? Finding the deal, fix it up and renting it out.
Wow, you built all the pieces, which I mean, I don't know if Karen and I are going to have anything to offer you. You sound like you've got it all figured out. We
I've got a
love
bunch
it.
of pieces, but making it a
That's
well-oiled machine, I'm sure you guys can help.
yeah, well, I mean, that sounds amazing. And it sounds like, when you're an owner, like it sounds like you have learned and adapted and like seen opportunity and just kind of added it in, and which is the smart way to keep going, right? Like you do the things and how smart to do. I find, as much as I maybe don't want to own a franchise personally, the idea of a franchise is like, it's a no-brainer. It's like guaranteed success, right? Where most businesses fail, you get something that's a set figure, like, and it's already done. Like, it's proven it works. You plop it in, it works. That's it. Easy peasy. Like, how smart to see and learn all that. That was really smart.
I agree. It was a great building block, right? Because I remember even when I was
Yeah.
first trying to do my business model, right? Again, I didn't go to business school. I was an engineer by degree. And I was trying to build out the business model for this. And I remember I did an SBA loan, which if you guys haven't ever done an SBA loan or anybody listening, you think getting a mortgage is hard. Holy cow. An
Mhm.
SBA loan was
Yeah.
like, you want to talk to jumping hoops, right? So
Yeah.
jumping through all these hoops, he's like, hey, you need a business plan, Casey. And I'm like, well, I've run my construction numbers and I've seen how other studios are doing, but I haven't really built out a pro forma and done that. And I'm like, but I've done it for rental property, so I can figure this out.
Right.
Right. So, but just kind of going through all that and then just the build out and the payroll. And there was just even like the sales and marketing. I remember listening to those calls every week that the franchisor provided, and I learned so much from those. And And honestly, that's when I started to really realize, I think, my superpower, which was like sales and closing,
Mm.
because I would get really excited it's kind of funny, but maybe not everybody does this, but I would listen to it when I was like running or working out, and I'd be listening to these sales calls, and I'd be getting all amped up and really excited, and then get out to go do it. Right. So I really, but they showed you how to do that. And until like I got in that
Mhm.
sort of mode and into that situation, or whatever you want to call that, yeah, it's probably just like a situation or a position where I was actually able to go start doing sales. I started to realize
Right.
one of my favorite superpowers is being able to help and close deals. And that's one of the biggest things I do today with our company is I help. I'm still helping with a lot of the deals, but my goal is to move into I'm helping close the bigger, like more high profile, like more creative
Right.
ones, the ones that require more underwriting, and then allow my team to close the normal kind of one-off single family fix
Sure.
and flips.
Sure. Well, I mean, sounds amazing, right,
Mhm.
Karen?
Thank you.
Like, do they do this in Karen, or is it making your head explode?
No, 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 no. We do this in the UK a lot as well, and I'm with you on those SBA loans. You know, we've got the equivalent in the UK, and yeah, it's easier to go to a high street bank and get a mortgage. It's easier to sell a kidney, to be perfectly honest with you, than get finance in the UK. Um, the one thing that's really impressive, to be honest with you, because I'm married to an engineer, and he's got that sales thing as well. I don't know whether it's just a typical of that engineering background. You're very logical, you're very organized, you're very structured. But as I say, he's great at sales as well. And it's not something that you're about the fourth person now I know that comes from an engineering background, but sales are your superpower. I think there's just must be something in the training or in the water that you guys drink. So no, well done.
There you go.
Thank you. I always joke
Awesome.
about it too, like, because like as an engineer, I tend to go the other way, right? Like there's a lot of engineers are maybe not great at sales. I didn't definitely when I started working for Shell and even in grad school learning, I got my degree in petroleum engineering. There wasn't a bunch of sales classes, right? So I didn't ever learn it, right? But I feel like when I got into it, when I went, and I always think of this story, right? I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad for the first time, and I was driving up in Alberta, Canada, like driving on the roads, driving between oil leases, and I was reading that book and I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have learned sales. Like he's talking about doing like door-to-door sales with like selling the vacuums. All right. And I'm like, oh man, like that's one thing I wish I would have done growing up is like learn how to sell. I don't know how to sell. But until I was put in that situation where I was owning a franchise and it was basically sink or swim, it's either go sell this thing, get memberships or not make it. And then it kind of forced you into it. And then I realized, all right, I like this. I enjoy it. I actually, unlike some engineers, I do like talking to people. But to your
Yeah.
point, like it all comes down to numbers. And if it's a numbers game, we can definitely process it and make it happen.
Mhm.
That gives you that confidence, doesn't it? Because you process everything. Everything's so logical. And when you get to the end result, it's not sales then, is it? It's more about you're just sharing the information, you're sharing the opportunity with the person that you're selling to. And it becomes a different conversation. I've observed my husband over the past 25 years, and he can absolutely do this but he comes the same background as you. So yeah, well done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
I even use it like when we're raising capital and especially when I'm working with like an oil and gas professional or another engineer or anyone for that matter, like you should understand the underwriting and the underlying numbers of your investment. Right. So I love like diving into it and show them to where I don't ever feel like I'm pitching them. And I don't think they feel like that either. It's like, hey, let me show you the numbers. Let me show you, to your point, Karen, like
Right.
how we logically are underwriting this and how here are the risks. Here's how we mitigate them. And that's definitely a big engineering skill we learn. Those feed into our heads at Shell when we're drilling these like 10, $15 million wells in the Gulf of Mexico. There's a lot of risk. So it's like, you
Mhm.
know, you have risk. How do you mitigate it? So I think being able to
Yeah.
articulate that and show people the numbers has really helped me.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Well, and it's based on facts, right? I mean, the numbers don't lie. Like, and you can look at them from different angles, but it's not like a shell game, which sometimes sales is, right?
Yes.
It's like don't look underneath the shells, right? Like
Yeah.
I
bait and
mean,
switch all the things.
yeah, I'm an accountant by profession. So you put an accountant and an engineer in a room together, and absolutely the numbers come through. So yeah, no, I think, yeah, what is it then that we can help you with? Because you do, to Tracy's point, it sounds like you've got everything well oiled, this machine of yours.
Yeah. I think it's just continuing to scale up and raise more capital. Really, it's always kind of been the bottleneck of because we've always had good deal flow. And again, in Wyoming, there's a limit of like there's a plentiful amount, I think, of properties that I could fix up, right? And it's a smaller market and I don't have a whole lot of competition. So there's plenty there, right? And there's also, but there's a limited supply of contractors. So therefore, and that's really what's kept prices stable. Even though in a lot of markets over the last couple of years with higher interest rates, you saw dips, right? We didn't see a dip. We just kind of flatlined. It's still been growing slowly, but it wasn't like it was post-COVID with low interest rates, right? So, but again, I attribute that to low supply. There's not enough builders. There's not enough people investing. So I've just found the key, the solution to my equation right now is if I've got those three parts of a vertically integrated company. Now, if we can apply the right amount of capital to it, then we can solve it. So that's sort of my question is, and I do a ton of content, a ton of branding. As I mentioned, I do a lot of, I break down the underwriting and I try to help, let me go here for a second, a little bit of a detour, but my goal through Owners Club and my Mount Everest is to help 100 families achieve their passive income goal. Because a little bit of the, why is I worked in oil and gas, right, for 12 years. They laid off, no joke, this is not exaggerating, for 6 straight years, they were laid off 10% of our organization, just cut them every year.
Wow.
Right. In 1 year, they laid off 40%, which was right before COVID. Our company, our America's company laid off 40%. So I just remember the stress of that and everybody else who was dealing with the stress. Right. And I also know the guys that worked in the field beside me that were always away from their families. So those kind of two key things is what I try to, I went through it, but I took the time to go buy rental properties, right? Do fix and flips, build my assets, build my passive income where I didn't have to be stressed while all that was going on.
Right.
And there's a little bit more when it goes into my family and being able to spend time with my family. And I like to help other people have that same choice. So anyway, those two big things are what I want to help other people with, right? I was able to achieve it for myself through good mentors and good help. So that's my goal, to help more people. So if you guys can help me, I want to be able to get, how can I help more people get this message across? Because to me, it's a win-win for everybody.
You know what? Honestly, just let me share something, okay? Because that really lines with my passion, my goal. So I've worked in the consulting industry as an independent consultant for the past 25 years. And when the financial crisis hit, when COVID hit, I saw many of my peer group panic. They hadn't protected themselves. I'd done financial resilience because of my accountancy background. We built rental properties ourselves. We built, flipped businesses. But the others hadn't done it. And it was was it they were just burying their head in the sand? Was it that they didn't know how to? So I set up my business, which Tracy talked about at the very beginning of the call, my fractional training academy, to help people understand how they could create multiple income streams, just using their intellectual property, just using the skills that they've had over the past 25, 30 years. And that's gone really, really well. And I feel so blessed to be able to help other people achieve that level of calmness and that choice. One of the reason I'm calling this out is because I responded to a post on LinkedIn this morning, something I'd posted it months ago. And one of the guys who responded is a very well-known business coach in the UK. In fact, his son's more known than the I work with the goat rather than the son. So he's the person who is then responded to say, financial resilience is necessary. And I said, it's all about choice for me. It's the choice to be able, and you've got to put all of these things in place so that you do have the choice to either take the next contract, take the next big, flip, that type of thing. And what we've now started to do, and this may resonate with you, is we've got that sort of, that group, that my peer group in a good place. And now we're starting to bring their children along as well. Now we're starting to bring the younger generation along, because there are no electricians, there are no carpenters, there are no old-fashioned trades people. And everybody wants to be an influencer. That whole group of, that population, they all want to go on and do something in the digital space. But really, who's going to dig up your drive? Who's going to, plaster your house? Who's going to do all of those things? And we've got a cohort now in our group, our membership, where they are really looking to learn from the likes of my husband, who's an engineer and very, very handy, that type of stuff. And all of this is it's just happened. I wouldn't say it's part of the big master plan, but we've just brought the younger generation in. And maybe that's something that you can consider as well, your own academy, in an old shop, a tool shop, that type of thing. When you were in high school, you used to have a shop, didn't you? You used to have, or a place where people went to learn the trades. Maybe that's something that you should, if that's part of your bigger picture, your Mount Everest, maybe you've got to be the catalyst to do all of that and get your next generation of tradesmen. That's what we're doing. That's how my business.
Wow. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Especially because it's such a huge, I mean, that's one of the biggest bottlenecks I'm always trying to solve in my business. I didn't mention is recruiting, helping bring more people. And our solutions have been to try to bring them outside of Wyoming from Texas or Colorado. But yeah, it's one we're trying to solve.
Yeah, you look, I mean, AI, they reckon, McKinsey did a study recently, and they reckon 30% of the workforce just in America alone are going to lose their jobs or the potential jobs through AI. You will always need, carpenters and electricians, so is it not time to go back to those classic trades? Because general roles like contact center, the more transactional roles, AI is going to take all of that. So that's what we started to do with our group anyway. And we're bringing people's children along as well and giving them choice, because otherwise they get taken through the education system and they get put into a corporate environment where those jobs are not going to exist in the future. So I'm sorry, I don't want to sound as if I'm like, but this is just, I'm so passionate about this because it's all happening in my business at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. And you're ahead of it. Like, you either get ahead of it or you're going to be behind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you have, Casey, so in your vertical and all the business, I know you said property management, do you have your own contracting company?
Yes. So we have.
Okay, so you have that. You just need more people for it.
Yeah, just reloading. It's honestly, and to do more projects and
do more because that's the bottleneck. Yes. And so I mean,
capital and personnel. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, always staff, right?
Yeah.
If it's something. Yeah. I mean, I own candy stores, so like I'm very low level, right? I'm like first job kind of people. And oh gosh, they kill me. Eventually you don't love them all very much. But I love this idea of bringing in your own, because I think you talked about how like you're doing superpowers kind of sales, but it's because you're building the rapport and you're being honest and just showing reality. It's not a shell game, right? It's very honest and forthright. But I think that same rapport building, bringing in newbies or young to like, whatever that looks like, to bring in people to even just to try to learn summers or whatever, just to find those people that are interested. Like my husband's a 45-year builder. And so he didn't build a big company though. He just got to the place where he just liked working by himself. And that's what he would do it. But he goes job to job to job to job. But he didn't build a business. He didn't set up things, which is why we're doing real estate and stuff now later, right? Because he didn't think about that. Most of them don't. Most of them are just going job to job to job. But I think that is also one of the enticements about what maybe you could think about offering or somehow figure out, because it solves your problem, but also gives them some type of security. And then as a benefit, maybe they can invest in your deals because that also maybe solves both, right? You get your money coming full circle, right? And kind of like what Pace is talking about right now is all these methodologies to get people to get their first deal, to start, to get messy, figure it out. But like you said, with the franchise, you did that and everything was laid out for you. You just had to do the thing and you got to be taught by people who had already done it. And so how secure is that? In some ways, you don't even have to pay them as much. I'm not saying you don't have to, but because you're teaching them, right? This is, you don't have to go to a school. I'm going to apprentice you. And then not only that, but we'll also, if you end on time or however that works bonus wise, that bonus goes into the fund, which is going to fund your future, so on and so forth. And it doesn't cost you anything, but serves your bigger purpose.
I don't know what the funding's like in the US, but we've set up a not-for-profit in the UK, and we've actually can get government funding to help support this. So it's not costing me anything to build out my next generation of the engineers that are needed in the future. So it was just a spin-off from a solution that we'd already built.
Yeah. And real time. Even if it takes a little longer on a project, right? The cost could be lower, but they learn. Like I was trying to talk to my husband, this is a little bit off track, but like I was trying to say to him, like, you could have a YouTube channel or you could do just a class teaching ladies how to build a bookcase. And he's like, nobody wants to watch that. And I'm like, you like in his mind though, he thinks nobody, but you know, when he figures out how to build a set of stairs, it breaks my brain. Like all the different measurements and the this and the that and the up and the down and the like and how far it has to go and it's geometry and all these things, but to him it is completely natural because he was taught, like, and he learned and he made the mistakes. He didn't always, measure twice, cut once, right? Learn the hard thing, put the thing together, have it be wrong. What I'm just saying that's a life skill, but what you're adding, the extra incentive, in my opinion, is all of your experience and your passion for this. That could solve your Everest right there.
Yes. I'll share another thing with you
Yeah,
guys.
please.
So I'm actually at a mastermind right now called Collective Genius. It's a high level real estate investors only community. And yesterday, one of the presentations was how to be a dream manager and how to actually get your employees and actually understand their dreams. And the cool thing is they literally gave us like the blueprint of like setting their 10-year goal, their 3-year goal, and now they're like their 1 year and their 90-day sprints and their core values. It's a cool little one pager you could do for all your employees. And it's all about getting buy-in. So I'm going to go to you guys in a second, but I was thinking about it for my past and not only my employees, but my people who want the 100 people who want to achieve their financial freedom, like that could be the framework, work on that. Cause that's the thing is like financial freedom doesn't happen overnight. Right. And it might be 10 years for some people might be 3 or 5 or maybe 12 months. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to apply that and share that with them. But I even love it more to where, if you're recruiting, helping the younger generation, let's go build out your 10-year goal. Right. And let's systematically and take it in by little bite-sized pieces.
I love that. Well, it's funny. I was just at a fireside with Pace last week and he was talking about AI and you know what he said? He said one of his fears is he doesn't know what to tell his son. Like, what do you aim for? Because who knows what the world will even look like in 20 years? Like, how do you tell him to build? Now, Pace's son probably won't have to worry about that. But the reality is, like, how do they what? We don't know what 10 years is going to look like because everything's changing so quickly. But if you could do 2-year, 3-year, 5-year increments and where they could feel more secure, even Pace is working with us in Owners Club about having our break point, right? Where we are like not worried about how to pay the bills this month, right? Even in Owners Club, like even though we've spent all this money, things happen. I went from being very comfortable to not comfortable at all in 1 year because this happened, and this happened. Like it happens. And I think being able to have somebody to guide me to get there would have been so helpful instead of learning the hard way, right? Making all the mistakes. And that's something you really, and whether they're young people just coming out of high school or people in their 20s who have brand new families that are like, I have to provide, like whatever, however you find that works, I think you could really, I think that could be your 100 people or 1,000 people. And you built a team for yourself anyway. Plus, they're not going anywhere.
Yes.
Because they're loyal to you.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a big takeaway for why they presented yesterday. It's like build loyalty and build like it. But if you do that for somebody, they'll
be forever.
How hard are they going to work? Yeah, that's right.
It's life-changing for people as well. It's like you are giving them the keys to something that was out of their reach beforehand. I just think that's so powerful. It really is. But
But they don't even know, like when I do my classes for business owners and we talk about the American dream, and most people, when they built their businesses, they thought they were going to have freedom of money, freedom of time, and instead they have kind of prisons, right? They are in it, stuck in it, not making as much, but they also don't know what to do and they can't necessarily sell. That's most of the people that own businesses. And it's like, how many of them could do so much better if they just had somebody who was a little bit ahead that was like, listen, you need to work on this, or you need to think about where are you going instead of not having a plan or whatever that is. But having that mentor who's a little bit ahead, even just a little bit, is so helpful because then you have somebody, because, that's lonely work. Entrepreneurship is often lonely and hard, and nobody understands, especially the people all around you who are not entrepreneurs think you're crazy. They will tell you should go get a job or whatever, right? Like, because like they think that's security, but it's not really security. I mean, security is being able to do it yourself and know that you'll be able to figure it out. But I don't know, it's the shortcut, I think. And that's why we
So
pay for all these mentorships, right? Is to the shortcut. Like, happy
Right.
to take my money, please, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know if that
Sure.
helps. I'm the comic relief, but I love that. I think Casey, I mean, I'm excited for you. Like, and I had one question though. Do you only do Wyoming or do you do everywhere?
Yeah, we're doing the surrounding states. So we're already doing a lot of deals in Montana and South
Mhm.
Dakota. And we're now looking in Utah, Idaho, and Colorado. And I
Nice.
actually live in Houston, Texas. So I've been looking at a lot of deals in Houston. Houston's a little tough to make things pencil right now with higher interest
Mhm.
rates and taxes and insurance, but we're still looking there. And then just because
Gotcha.
such a big part of Sub 2, and I have a weekly Zoom called Problems to Profits. So we have about 150 to 200 students live every week, plus people watching the recordings that it's designed for them to bring deals they're stuck on. And so what it's
Right.
naturally brought is it's created this little deal funnel of people who
Love
have a
it.
deal that they can't close. And it might be in other markets, right? So we did one in Washington State, we looked at one in Florida and looking at a couple over in Missouri. It's just so far. So it's allowing us to kind of spread across the country, but we're also being cautious, right? Like that's another different topic. But one of the big things I do in my kind of a little niche we do in our fix and flip is called the revive method. So we'll go fix and flip a house, but it's the way we structure it is as long as they have equity and they have a little bit of time, we'll actually take over the loan, or if it's free and clear, we'll just still take over the deed. We'll go put in the 50K, 100, I put it 200,000 into some houses where we'll renovate them. And then when we sell it, that's when, basically it gets paid at this order. The loan gets paid back. I get paid back my rehab budget, and then the seller gets a profit share with me. But I can actually
Nice.
pay sellers more money with this strategy. So what I'm working on is getting more students, teaching them so they can do this strategy, but more times than not, we'll partner and do the strategy together.
Right.
yeah,
That's amazing. I love that. We proposed that recently to somebody that we had flipped a house to. The guy bought it. He was going to redo all the renovations, and then he was trying to sell it for less than we sold it to him for. So we went back to him and said, "Listen, doesn't seem like you made any progress. How about we come back in? We'll do all the reno, we'll finish, and then we could do a rev share on the
Yeah.
sale." And his pride got involved, but it would have been a
Yeah.
good solution for him, right? Because after 2 years, he really hadn't done anything. But I love that method, and it gives you such freedom, because you don't have to bring all the money to the table,
Yes.
especially if you have your skill. And that's one of my husband's, one of the assets from me with my husband is even in my first deal, it was like, you've been doing this for 45 years. You know a million people. You've seen probably everything. Is there anything you don't think you'll be able to handle? And he said, nope. And I was like, okay, then I'll write the check because coming in knowing that he could handle or at least have resources for any problem was such a relief. It's easy to write that check as opposed to not really sure, right? And I think, your relationship with these people also helps, right? Like, okay, I've seen it all. Plus, I love that you're doing that for those calls because, I mean, you're getting all of this opportunity to dig into creative things, like a lot of really creative things, and you're becoming a really quick expert because it's all the problems. The problems make you stronger, I mean, and smarter. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to come to your call. So, all right. Well, I think
I'm going to have
Karen.
to. Yeah, it's a bit. The hour has really messed me up. Okay, so I'm
No,
going
it's
to.
okay. You're good.
Right.
I think we solved I think we at least answered and gave some suggestions. What do you think?
Yeah,
Casey?
the only other last thing is
Yeah.
working. I found that I've been working with a lot of guys that got oil and gas people or any people who maybe have 50K, 100K, up to 250 to 300,000. But recently I've been I just met a guy that has a family office and they're in oil and gas. They do royalties. So they're doing really well, but they're trying to get into multifamily, but they couldn't find an operator. And I met them I was on a podcast. They heard me and they reached out. And now they're the ones who are making the offer on the 120 units. So that's the only other thing I was going to ask you guys is, I want to leverage more of those relationships, right? Because when I can find that person, then I can find 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and we can achieve a lot more goals than spending all the money I spend to just get in front of the people who've got 50 or 100K,
Yeah.
and all the time and effort. Like I want to help more people and do more stuff. But if I'm chasing down 100 people with 100K, it's a lot.
But you're only in the US. You don't come to the UK or Europe, no?
We could accept funds outside of the US, but not, but yeah, just doing projects here in the US.
Okay. Well, yeah, leave
I
it
think
with-
you're doing it. I mean, I think, right? What does Pace say about content? Just like that person saw you and brought it. And so you're
Yeah.
building how many clones?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what it is. I think they're going to find you. Maddie in Owners Club, he says, all my leads come to me. Like they find me because he's also putting out the intention, but also he's made all these clones where people know what he's looking for, being really clear on it. So I would imagine that if you were very clear, like on everyone, like what you're looking for and you want to connect or whatever, that they're going to find you. They're just going to be drawn because you have everything. And you also speak their language.
Yeah.
And I have
Right?
I've got an audience of corporate individuals. So either they're still in corporate roles, fairly senior roles, or they've left and they're now looking for, that passive income, that, what do I do in the future? So I'm sure some of my audience will be listening to this now and maybe reach out to you, Casey, because yes, they've certainly got funds to invest.
Yeah.
Karen is
Yeah,
fancy like that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, yeah, those are the perfect ones, right? Because a lot of those people, they don't want to learn the whole thing. They don't want to learn how to find the deal. They definitely don't want to manage contractors or tenants, right? And that's why, I don't know, that's the last thing I'll share is like, I was really passionate about building these companies and the vertical integration, right? But what I found was I really just enjoyed helping people and now as I do that weekly Zoom, like getting to help other people do their first deal is so much fun. And then being able to help somebody who's completely passive create that income. I don't know, I just enjoy
It's
that
amazing.
so much.
I love it. I think you're already wildly successful, but I think even more so. It's just going to now start to multiply, right? It compound. And I think that's what's coming. Karen, I know you have to go. It's UK and time change. Thank you. Casey, thank you so much for being here.
Likewise.
Really appreciate it. And if I know of any Richie pants, I'll send them your way.
Sounds great.
All right.
Excited to see you at Squad Up.
Tracy,
For sure. Bye.
All right. See you guys.